Jeff from 2X Garage. Well, back at Jimmy's shop, back on Project Jumping Jack Flash, the soon-to-be nostalgia front engine dragster. And you've seen a lot of videos. We've gotten quite a bit done. We're really making a push in getting this chassis done. It seems like we're kind of all over the place, but we're not. We got to get certain things in place with this so we can get it painted. So what we're going to do today, Jimmy's already been working and planning. He's got the nicely new painted rear. He's got the new rear end all painted up over there and moving it. But like you saw in previous videos, we've been all over the place with this chassis. It might seem like, you know, there is a method to our madness of doing different things. But one of the things we need to do next is we need to get the steering set up in this. Like I said, we're trying to get everything welded on this chassis so we can get it painted and get things going on it. So with the steering, you know, you got your bat wing and all that, and you got 2 bars that come across here, which we did get in. Jimmy and I spent a little bit of time this morning looking at other parts we need to order so we can get this chassis done. Do have a whole bunch of engine parts coming soon, so you might see some content on that. But today we're going to work on steering. I have no clue what to expect. I've never done this before. Jimmy's got a mock-up transmission in here, so I'm guessing it's going to...
Neither have
I. He says he's never done it. But so, yeah, that's what we got going on today. We're going to work on some steering and see what else we can tackle. It's kind of, like I said, all over the place, but that's what we got to do. Somebody was joking around about a nickname for a driver for the Dragster. Abe Froman. If you know, you know. With that, we're going to get to work.
He's going to have 2 ropes. Going to be like one of those kids, the scooters the kids used to make go-kart with 2 ropes and steer.
Yeah, he's going to...
We're going to put one on one spindle, one on the other. He's on his own.
Yeah, it's going to be a chariot of fire after that. So not only am I going to have training wheels on it, he's going to put a wheel on top when I flip it over. Roller skate. He's going to make me steer it like an old chariot. With that, we're going to steer things in the right direction and get to work. All right, so we threw the rear end back in because I'm going to have to get in there and sit. And kind of like what we're going to do today is, you see here, we got these 2 bars here. That actually is going to go across. That's one loop for one side of the chassis and one loop for the other side of the chassis. We've got to cut it to length and get it in there. But that's the bars we've been talking about that go here and where our steering mounts to, and that's going to help us determine also the angle of the cowl. Down here, I have my steering box. It's an old SPE, works just fine. So we got to find the correct location for that. That's going to go on that bar there, where I sit and line up so we can get this in place. So that's what we're going to be working on. And the reason we had to put the mock-up in here is because we need to determine off the center of this and how low it can go so it doesn't hit anything and get obstructed. So with that, we're going to get back to work. All right, real quick progress check. We were probably wondering what the string is. That string is just representing where the cowl is going to be. The reason we need that is because we need to know if the steering box is going to clear with our height. So Jimmy's gone ahead and marked where the bracket's going to go to hold up the actual steering arm. It's got to be actually, parallel and level. So when the arm that actually does the motion of the steering sits straight, not cockeyed. So we found a good spot for it. As you saw, I sat up in there, found a comfortable spot where that's going to be. We know it all clears now. That would be underneath the cowl. Jimmy's making a template right now because what we're going to do, it's going to be it's going to be mounted on the rear end here. So there's going to be a bracket made with these 3 holes here, and it's going to come up, and our steering box is going to be back here centered with the arm coming out here, and the steering shaft's going to go here through that support. So I have my steering wheel. One thing you do have to consider is your tire size, because it's obviously round and it's big. And you need to make sure where your bracket for your steering is sitting is out of the way and with a clear tire size. So just kind of put that in perspective. Imagine having a big tire here and your steering here, and that's going to pivot back and forth. You don't want that to get into the tire at all. That might cause a little bit of an accident. You might see me in a wheelchair. That would be no fun. I'm sure it'd garner a lot of laughs, but that's not what I want right now. So we measured it out. We got our space. Jimmy's over there making a template. I'm rambling. Time to get to work. So what you saw us doing there is making a template. So like I said, this is going to go actually off the center section on the 3 top holes. And Jimmy made a pattern around there. What we did is we set our center hole. It's actually center through everything here like it's supposed to be, with the crankshaft, the transmission, everything, steering, everything's in line. So what Jimmy did is we measured where it's comfortable. We marked our hole there. And now that we have our template made, he's kind of refining it and all that. We're going to actually make this out of aluminum, cut it out, and that's going to be in place. From there, what we need to do then, what we were pre-planning was our actual steering. We have these awesome bars here. I think they call them helmet bars. We got to be able to mount the actual steering box to that. So what you saw us doing there was, trying to figure that part out. But I'm rambling. Jimmy's trying to find some stuff so we can get working on this. So yeah, that's our template. So our steering box is going to be in line with everything the way it should be. And I'll sit there safely. We'll see. See you soon. All right, progress check real quick. So there is our bracket. It still needs to get cleaned up on the edges, probably polished or painted, but you kind of get the gist of that. So basically what happens is the steering arm, where the steering wheel goes through there, it's going to go to the steering box and get mounted over here. In fact, I'm going to grab that real quick, kind of show you what we got going on here. So that goes through there, and it'll have a Teflon bushing that it goes through. And that's going to get elevated by one of those helmet bars up, connected to that. That bracket will end up getting welded there. This bar will be level, and then your steering wheel attaches there. We still got to weld that piece on because it is quick release. Let me show you what that's like. I'm trying to do this with one hand. So yeah, that's the gist of it. So you can kind of see what we got going on here. That is quick release. That'll have Teflon bushing. It'll be all nice and solid. Like I said, one of those helmet bars is going to bring that up, hold that into place. Over here will be a bracket, which is that one. We'll have to add to it. It'll get welded there. And that bar here will be level. And then you got your steering arm. With that, we'll see you in a few. All right, well, there's going to be a part 2 to this video. Mind you, this transmission is just for mock-up. This is so we know we have enough room. We have our lovely Dead and Bear Powerglide right there. But there's going to be a part 2, finishing this up. We got the rough bracket in place. This is going to get bent a little bit that way. There'll be a nylon bushing put in there. Either get painted or polished. Not quite sure yet. Steering shaft, it still needs to be, painted, cleaned up and all that, but we got it in there. That's our SPE box. This is all centered now. But we're working on now, so there's going to be a bracket that bolts to that's going to go to here. So this bar here will be the stabilization for your actual steering gearbox. And what's kind of neat is if you see what we got going on here, this doesn't get welded to the chassis. This is actually gets bolted in. So the same tabs we used for like the engine plate and all that, we're using those here too. The reason being is that you want this to come out in case you got to pull your transmission out. Pretty good job on that. So we got to finish that up. A couple other things that we'll end up doing with that is, those holes here, they're just holes right now drilled through. We'll put the tubes in, weld it so it's nice and solid. From there, we'll make a bracket that's going to go from the chassis to the actual steering, that little mount right there, and it'll also bolt. That's the bushing there. This is one that came with the car. It's actually in good shape. That'll be level. So when we put our steering arm, that pivots this way and that way to move the rod all the way forward to the axle, it'll be parallel the way it should be. So that's where we're at right now with that. A lot of intricate work. This is how Abe Froman is going to steer a dragster. With that, we'll see you in the next one, part 2. Later.